Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, everybody, to Sunday Sessions. My name is Bob Swanson. Sunday Sessions, of course, is your weekly touch point for connection, community, and conversation. I want to welcome everybody who is joining us live on YouTube. You might be joining us from the Bridge City Global Campus. You might even be catching us for a local watch party. And of course, there's always the option you might be watching us in the future by watching the replay. However you're joining us, welcome, welcome. If you're like me, and I know I am, the only thing that is a requirement for Sunday sessions is that you at least are hip with the Bridge City mission. And I've got the Bridge City mission right here, which is that we help people connect better, build better, and live better. I've got the sweatshirt to prove it. And someone who does not need a sweatshirt is my buddy Mark from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I don't think you have too much use for sweatshirts down your way.
No, we don't get to put on sweatshirts that often, except for like when you're in the office, because they keep the air conditioning way low. That's where you'll find people with sweatshirts. Anyway, good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Russell. I am the Bridge City Book Club moderator, among other things that I do from time to time here. Just wanted to welcome you in this morning and talk about our values and how that relates to today's conversation. So we are a forward-thinking community, people-centric and always life-affirming. And today's conversation is about shame, which doesn't seem especially affirming in a lot of ways, I suppose. But I wanted to when I think about shame, actually, there's one person that comes to mind frequently for me, and that's Brene Brown. She's a research professor at the University of Houston Graduate School of Social Work, and she focuses her work on shame and vulnerability. And I don't know if you've ever had a chance to see one of her TED Talks. She has things on YouTube and stuff that is just really good, really useful. If you haven't seen her, I'd suggest you look her up and take a look at what she does. But I thought I'd just read a little bit of a quote to get things started from her book. I thought it was just me, but it isn't, which is subtitled "Making the Journey from What Will People Think to I Am Enough." So the one thing that she mentions is that when people hear the word shame, they often have one of two responses. I'm not sure what you mean by shame, but I know that I don't want to talk about it. Or, oh, shame. I know it well, but I don't want to talk about it. So just talking about shame is this sort of shameful thing. And she spent a lot of time, her research career, looking at shame. And today we're doing the same thing. We're going to be talking about shame, and we're going to be shameless today, talking about shame.
And certainly, it goes to show that it's just part of the human experience, and that's part of Bridge City is we're creating a humanist community where people are really they matter, and the only requirement that we ask for those that are thinking about joining the Bridge City community is to be honest and not pretend about having certainty where you don't have certainty. We're looking for those that want to do some honest thinking and share responsibility, connect intentionally, and then be willing to reflect on the conversations we have. Visitors, there's no litmus test, there's no pressure. In fact, you don't even have to agree with everything to be part of the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely, Bob. I wanted to specifically reach out to welcome our first-time guests, anybody who is just visiting us to check us out for the first time here on Sunday Sessions. We just wanted to make sure that you understand that you're welcome. I know that when I started checking things out, so everybody has their own journey on these things. Normally, I think that everybody finds their way to something like Sunday Sessions and Durante in their own particular way. I know that I had my own path to get here, and when you first are doing these kind of things, you're not like putting your whole foot in it. You're just wanting to dip your toe and just to see how things are.
Right.
So I just want to invite you to dip your toes in and see how things are here. If you are part of, if you've joined us on the Bridge City campus, if the same thing, you dip your toe in, lurk a little while if that's what's most comfortable for you. But regardless, we want to make sure that you understand that your presence matters, that we're looking forward to seeing you and meeting you, both on campus and in person, hopefully, at some point in time. We do have in-person meetups from time to time, and it's great. You can connect with people in lots of different ways here.
And whether you're a first-time food dipper or maybe a long-time lurker, that QR code that you see on your screen, that is a free gift from Bridge City to you. It's a way of, it's a tool to help you navigate your connection and make connections in real time. So if you just follow that link, that'll give you a gift whenever you're ready for it.
I also want to thank all of our current members who are part of Bridge City and who are joining us again today here. We always are so happy to see you showing up for Sunday Sessions and for any of the events that occur. But we also want to make sure that when you do show up, come intentionally. That there's that this is a community that's built upon participation and not just attendance. So we, while we're very happy for you to show up, we also just would love to hear from you and just join in on a conversation somewhere on the campus, like one of the clubs, or just say hello, get in one of the member lounges spaces. Just check us out and say hello and join in on the conversation.
Yeah, and that's one of the cool things I find about the community is that there are these chances to participate within the campus, but also for those who might be first timers to the conversation today, there's going to be a chance for you to participate during the conversation. So our series, we're in the midst of the NSFW series. Make me a little nervous. I got to mop my brow here. It's a provocative title. And one that actually I get a little bit kind of squeamish. I've got 3 teenage boys, and I even find sometimes the conversations around sex to be somewhat uncomfortable. But that's the whole point of having this conversation series, is to take that taboo away a little bit and to give us a little bit of power about the conversation.
Right, and just to emphasize or like reinforce that just these conversations are not expected to provide you with like the answer. We do not have that one neat way of like summing everything up. But we're also not here to like sensationalize sex or normalize just like everything is all right but we're also not going to condemn everything too. Right. So it's just like trying to find that balance, and also just to generate the conversation and to get that conversation going, because this conversation does not end with today. That does not end with just having this session. These conversations can go on in your regular life all the time, and we're just encouraging that we talk about these things.
Yeah, I think ultimately the goals are, we essentially just want to become more mature, more humane, more self-aware, more responsible about how we think about sexuality, intimacy, vulnerability, power, and even harm. And the beauty of having conversations is that it helps you understand these topics so much better, because I've got one life experience, and that gives me a sample size of one. So getting a chance to hear other perspectives really is beneficial to me.
So with that said, we would like to see if start some engagement right now. And if you are in the chat, we'd like to hear what you have to say.
Bringing up the comments here myself.
Yeah. So the first question that we have is, when you hear the phrase NSFW in this context, and we're talking about sex in this context, and what word comes to mind?
Yeah,
What words?
Yeah, for me, it is definitely. I guess I was raised Catholic, so shame is a constant nagging thing when it comes to this topic. So I'll be all ears during today's conversation.
Yeah, it's just it's a very taboo. Just the notion of sex has always had that you don't talk about it kind of thing going on.
Right.
And that comes from shame, absolutely.
Which makes the second question interesting. If anybody wants to chime in on, why are conversations about sexuality so difficult? I have, of course, I've talked to my boys about this, but one thing I mentioned to them is that you can't go half of the sitcoms that we watch, whether it's New Girl or How I Met Your Mother. We watch a lot of these, and some of the storylines are all Friends. It's all the sexual tension, and so clearly it's an important part of life, and everyone's thinking about it. Just very few people like to talk about it. And it's
I like what Philosopher Shy said about it's what the internet is for, according to Avenue Q. I saw Avenue Q many years ago, but yeah, that's just cultural and religious nonsense perpetuating the idea that people shouldn't talk about these things. Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's if you have all of this stuff, these cultural pressures that just say that this is not acceptable. It's not acceptable to do the things, but it's also just not acceptable to even talk about them, which is just absolutely insane. So,
well, hey, let's so we can kind of move things along and get to the conversation. Let's check out the news that we have to share with all the viewers out there.
Do we have the news?
Yeah, flip on over to the next part of the bullet points. The one thing, of course, we've been talking about the global campus. For those that want to check out the global campus, there's a link that will take you to the global campus. There we go.
Yes, there we go. I see. Yes, thank you. Right. So yes, the news. So first thing is to visit the global campus, and we have this section called the lobby. So like if you're taking a look at the screen, there's if you're on a computer, it'll be one of the things at the top of the screen. You can pick the lobby and go into that. These things can sometimes be a little overwhelming, but there are lots of different little places you can go. There's a welcome center, the event center, the business center, and other specific things.
Yes, the answer to the question is free. So please join, and it is under construction, so pardon the dust, but it is growing. More and more things are being added to it almost every week, including we do now have connection circles. These are kind of like small groups that help to orient you to the community a little bit easier. There's also what we're calling small talks, where members of the community can actually present about whatever many different topics, ideas about growth, discovery, and personal development in a more intimate setting. Another thing you may want to consider are watch parties. What is a watch party? In my mind, it's a way of making things a little less virtual and a little more reality. This is what we're striving for. We're starting out as a virtual community, but ideally, we would love to have a lot more in-person connection. You may have watched a few of the Sunday sessions and thought, I wish this was happening in real life in my city. And that's what a watch party is. It's just kind of a small gathering where people can watch Sunday sessions together, and that gives you a chance to have some conversations about the topic with people in real life. And I've done this with I'm the faculty sponsor of a secular student group on my campus, and so we've had a watch party, a Bridge City watch party with some of my college students.
That's very cool. That's very cool. I need to do a watch party here. So because it's a good first step. I haven't had something here, but
yeah, if you find benefit, but why keep it to yourself? Share it with other people.
No, absolutely. But it is sometimes a little overwhelming to try to start that. But
you said you got some friends even tuning in today, so you're kind of
I did kind of put that out there that I'd be co-hosting here today.
Awesome.
So there's a whole bunch of friends who are probably watching right now, and anyway, so I'm looking forward to maybe we can get a small group to come over and do a watch party going forward. That would be great. Next up, though, we have our movie night is coming up. When is that coming? That's coming up next.
The first Sunday of
the month. So it'll be next Sunday.
Not next Sunday, but the following. June 7th.
There we go. Thank you, June 7th. Right. Yeah, The Normal Heart. This is it's an heart-wrenching film, but it is definitely worth the view, and I'm looking forward to seeing that myself. It's been a long time. I've seen this a long time ago, but it's definitely a good film.
Yeah, so if you want to drop in the chat if you've seen it, but please no spoilers because I have not seen it. But one of the nice things about our community movie nights is that we often have a chance to discuss the film both before as well as after the view. So again, this is another chance.
Really cool. That's actually a great participation thing. Yeah, absolutely.
I missed that.
Oh, so no, it's a great participation thing. You're absolutely right. Yeah, that's perfect.
Great. So another thing, in addition to movie nights, we have clubs. And the club that I want to focus on is, of course, Mark's Baby, the book club, and which is just a really, really cool place to talk about what you're reading. And so I wanted to actually feature what I'm currently reading if it shows up. I'm watching. I try to balance things out. So I've got some fiction. I've got Stephen King's Misery. And then this is a nonfiction book called Blind Spot, Hidden Biases of Good People, which I have not actually started yet, but it's going to be on my list once I finish Misery. I'm about halfway through.
Cool. Yeah, I've always trying to post a little something like a quote or something from something that I've read recently, but also I just put a few suggested books out there that I have on my list. I'm started reading as well to kind of go along with the whole shame theme as well.
Good.
But yeah, it's great if you to just jump in, check out the clubs. It's a great way to start.
And the titles will be growing as our membership grows. So I wanted to mention, since the beginning of the year, this is a stunning number to me, Mark. We've had 133 new members join Bridge City. That's super exciting. And again, it can be a little bit overwhelming. That's why we want you to make use of some of the resources. Go to the lobby and see all the different options you have, as well as, like I said, try to get involved with one of those small groups, those connection circles that'll help you to get oriented to the community a little more quickly.
So, like from the lobby, there's a link to the new member area, and it kind of like shows all the the first steps right there. They're all lined up for you, which are one, just to introduce yourself, and then also some classes, some introductory things, and just ways to explore the campus, but also just go and check out the clubs, start a conversation, join into an existing conversation, whatever, and just be engaged. It's really great. Also, we wanted to invite people who might be wanting to bring their talents to Bridge City that there's lots of different ways to get involved. We have several different teams there's those who work on putting these productions together. For operations, there's social arts teams, missions and events team. And actually, Bob, I think you're leading up the children and families team. Is that right?
That's right. That kind of comes from where I'm most interested. I'm a parent, I'm a teacher, I'm a children's entertainer on the side. And so I'm really interested in building community. And like I said, I'm the faculty sponsor of a secular student group on campus in the Bible Belt South. For me, it's really important that non-believing students on my campus have a place to find community, to find their people. And so that's why the whole mission of Bridge City is really important to me. And if we can build a community that also includes resources for parents and even kids, I think that's even better. So you can, for those that are thinking about getting involved a little more deeply, you ask yourself, what's one area of community building that you naturally care about? That's where you want to direct your energy, your time, and perhaps your resources. Are you more of a behind the scenes person? Are you a people person? Are you a creative person? Do you have some creative talents that could be made useful? Are you an organizer? Are you more of a support person? There's plenty of roles and plenty of niches that can be filled for we're a small community, and so again, we need all the help we can get.
And just mentioning, don't forget the clubs, that they're a great place to start contributing before committing to leading anything. Yes, absolutely. That's perfect.
And speaking of contributing, the second Tuesday of each month is Giving Tuesday, and so we don't require tithes to be part of Bridge City, but the reality is that it's a community that's growing, and ideally we want to go from being a virtual community to having real life campuses, and that's going to take resources. And so as you are able to, please contribute, especially on those second Tuesday of each month, because that's what essentially supports the mission of Bridge City.
And giving can mean lots of things. Obviously, financial gift is useful, but giving can be just in how you show up and volunteer at times too. So we need both, but it's important to have those people who want to show up and make the effort as much as it is to have the money to get it done. And now, honestly, those things tend to follow one another as well. So
right. Yeah,
so
if you're here, you value community, and you also
Right,
the community requires people that are volunteering, both their time, their energy, but also their financial resources.
Right, absolutely. So let's just sum up for today before we get into the main show. So if you're here, visit the global campus if you haven't done so already. Explore the creating a watch party or joining an existing watch party. Join the movie nights. Check out the different clubs. Welcome when you see new members come in. Well, take the effort and the time to welcome them in. Get involved, and when you can, support through Giving Tuesday.
Excellent. And of course, before we get started with the conversation, please share that stream and do the YouTube thing, like and subscribe it. And now let's learn about a little bit of shame with Durante and the main conversation.
Thank you guys so much. Man, listen, y'all, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I really, really enjoyed that. I was just kind of chatting in the background, letting everybody know, man, I really enjoyed this format. This is so cool. Just having people on our team, having our members actually talking. And for me, just even watching it, I got so much out of it. And so I hope y'all got value out of it. It's something we're trying. It's something we're working on. It's a new thing. We're giving it a spin. Anyway, how are you doing out there? Where are you watching from? As you're coming in, let us know this weekend. where you're watching from. You could be watching with your neighbor. And if you are, that might be a good sign you need to start a watch party. Welcome in to Bridge City, man. These are our Sunday sessions. If this is your first time here, if you are a first-time guest, guess what? We honor that. So we like to honor you because you're honoring us with your time by putting a little gift in your hand. So you can go to the link on the screen, www.bridgecity.app/guest, and you're going to get this wonderful little gift. The name of the gift is Greater. Trust me, you want it. If you got questions about Bridge City, this gift has some answers for you. If you've been just looking for something to get a little bit of inspiration, some motivation, to see something positive happening in the world, you need to get it. So if this is your first time here, we'd love to honor you by getting that in your hand. And of course, just thank you for being here with us. I'm a little excited today. I'm a little amped today, and it's because of our weekend warriors, man. Like, I get to finally use that phrase. Like, our weekend warriors has typically been me, Zernial, and Ashley, and now it's me, Zernial, Ashley, Bob, Mark, and we done roped Jude in here with us. And so we just had a really good time this morning coming together, meeting up. And I said, man, the only thing we're missing is some coffee and some pastries. So y'all help us get together a digital coffee and pastries fund. I don't know how that's going to work, but we need coffee and pastries for these mornings where we're coming together, waking up early, getting people all out of their comfort zone to come together to make these sessions happen as a community. If y'all would just show some love to our weekend warriors, man. And I mean, that's people who's helping with stage hosting, chat hosting, moderating. Like, man, we have a wonderful community of people who are coming together to be the bridge and to do the work. And so that's just overwhelming to me. Listen, before we jump into today's conversation, we've started this thing, and this is just a wonderful way, again, a wonderful testament to how our community is growing. When I talk about growth, y'all heard the numbers, 133 new members this year. That's year to date. And we just getting started. This isn't even chapter 1. This is like the preface. You know what I'm saying? This ain't even chapter 1, but not even just those ways, not numerically. Like, our members are actually finding things that inspire them, that make them come alive. And that's one of the most beautiful things for me, because that's what I want. I want to build a place where we can connect better and build better. So ultimately we can live better, that we can do the things that make us human, that make us loving, that make us come alive without having to restrict ourselves to former superstitions or religious limitations. And so within that, we've started creating music under the umbrella of Bridge City Music. We've started creating music that we've included in our Sunday sessions to kind of open us up ever so often. And I was the primary person writing lyrics, and then Zernial came along and he said, man, I got some song ideas too. And I was like, let's do the dang thing. And now it's evolved to another place where the person who has taken over the music club, and that's how things work, man. And it's quickly evolving to be our music team lead, Jude, decided, you know what, I really like this. Not only do I like it, I want to sing it. And so we've been playing this for the past few weeks. And if you love it, get ready to groove out a little bit before we jump into this interactive conversation. I would like to present to you at this moment, I'm bringing it to the stage. This is Vessel, written by our very own Zernial, written and produced by our very own Zernial, Dark Side of the Light Productions, and performed by Jude. Y'all go ahead and show you love. I'll be back in just a moment.
What's my name, fool? I don't need you to justify my love, to justify my skin, to justify or mystify this human that I'm in. I don't need you to sanctify my purity or defend my security. I am invested in my surety now. the shame game. Shame, 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 shame. I no longer hold the blame. Yeah. What's my name? I came already. Can you see me now? Can you see me? Can you feel me now? Can you feel me? Can you hear me now? Can you see me now? What's my I'm not your vessel for your shame game. I no longer hold the blame. Yeah. What's my name? I'm not your vessel for your same game. I no longer hold the blame. What's my name? I'm not a victim of yours. I'm not a target of yours. I'm not a vessel for your shame. What's my name?
What's my name? Fool. What's my name? I hope y'all enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed that. Are y'all ready for today's conversation? We're going to jump directly into this, as I've stated every week, just to kind of get us acclimated to what we're talking about. The objective of NSFW is to create a brave, honest, non-judgmental conversation space where people can examine sex, sexuality, intimacy, desire, shame, secrecy, consent, boundaries, and relational complexity beyond purity culture, patriarchal conditioning, and performative liberation. Not Safe for Work has been a 4-week moderated conversation series designed to explore the deeply personal, socially complicated, and often shame-loaded realities of human sexuality. At the heart of this series, we've asked, what would it look like to talk about sex in a way that is honest without being reckless, vulnerable without being invasive, liberated without being predatory, and moral without being moralistic? All right. So the big objective of this week is going to be to examine how shame is used to control, silence, punish, rank, and define people through sexual norms. This week explores how shame shapes identity, interpersonal behavior, sexual confidence, purity narratives, masculinity, femininity, body image, desire, and relational honesty. This is the emotional landing point of the entire series. After discussing formation, secrecy, betrayal, boundaries, and predatory behavior, let's close by addressing the thread hidden underneath all of it, and that is shame. Shame is different from responsibility. Shame says, I'm bad. Responsibility says, I need to understand what happened, repair what I can, and make healthy choices. That distinction is crucial because some people hear release shame and think it means remove accountability. But shame and accountability are not the same thing. In fact, shame often prevents accountability because people hide what they cannot face. Now, I'm still in the introduction. We're going to get into some conversation in a few, but I feel like that's worth repeating. Shame and accountability are not the same thing. Shame often prevents accountability because people hide what they cannot face. Okay. This weekend, I want to explore how sexual norms are weaponized differently against different people. And I want to take you somewhere that you probably didn't see coming, because y'all know I like to zag when y'all think I'm going to zig, and then I like to zig when you think I'm going to zag. But in the show Game of Thrones, see, I know y'all didn't know that that's where I was going, but that's where I was going with this. All of this was leading to Game of Thrones. This is where we are. You're in now. Like, listen, you've already bought in, you've already sat down, you've already started drinking your coffee or your tea or your oat milk or whatever else you got going on over there. You're already invested, so you might as well hear the rest of the story. So in Game of Thrones, right, there's this character named Cersei Lannister. All right. Cersei Lannister is her name. Cersei is what you can call a brother lover. But not in the Jim Crow South type of way, if you get my drift, okay? But other than that weird detail of her being a brother lover, other than that weird detail, she is also persistently manipulative and murderous. She had the king killed. She destroyed royal evidence. She lied. She stole power. She ordered murders and committed murder herself. Her official kill count is historically estimated at nearly 200 people, primarily driven by her ruthless desire to eliminate threats and protect her power. And that's not considering the thousands who died in wars that she incited. I mean, she's a bad somebody. She is single-handedly one of the most cruel people in television history, second only to the son that she bore. May we never mention his name. But the most treacherous season of her life, and this is where it gets good now, the most treacherous season of her life, a period that took nearly everything away from her, knocked her off her high horse, and found herself in the dungeon. Sister Girl found herself in the dungeon. She's a Lannister, and she has found herself in the dungeon. She is the daughter of Charles Dance, and she has found herself in the dungeon. That season that happened in her life that took her all the way down had absolutely nothing to do with any of that. It had nothing to do with the murders. It had nothing to do with the cruelty. It wasn't the cruelty. It wasn't her murders. It wasn't even her conspiracy to usurp authority through deception. It was the weaponization of sexual deviance and public shame. This is what makes that storyline so sociologically revealing. Cersei's cruelty did not finally become intolerable. Her violence did not finally become unforgivable. Her corruption did not finally become the thing society could no longer stomach. What becomes punishable was her sexual nonconformity. More specifically, a sexuality that could be named, exposed, categorized, and used to mark her as morally contaminated. Her fall was the direct result of state-enforced shame. Sexual deviance went from being something that some people do differently in private to something that people have to be treated differently for in public. And so this weekend, we're going to talk about shame.
Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame.
Out shame. Private, y'all wasn't ready for that. Were you ready to go back there? Like, this is my first time being able to actually stop and look at the comments. Shame. shame. Like, no, you got to make it. You got to make it feel something. Do you remember where you were when you first saw that scene? Do you remember where you were? Do you remember what you were going through when you heard those words? Shame,
Shame.
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 This is what we're
Shame.
talking about today.
Shame.
This is what we're dealing with today.
Shame.
This is the subject
Shame.
matter. No, this is the trigger warning. I want you to go all the way back. I want you to remember where you were when Cersei Lannister had her fall from disgrace. I guess that's the best way you can say that. When she had her fall from disgrace. Shame happens when private behavior becomes public category. When public category becomes moral contamination, and then that moral contamination becomes justification for punishment. That's how societies create shame. Shame is often one of those situations where everybody can get it. You see what I did there? Everybody can get it. No, because it's shame. Like, shame is literally one of those situations where everybody can get it. Low down, dirty shame. I did start to pull from low down, dirty shame. I did. And then Mark made me realize that I also had another missed opportunity because we could have pulled from shameless. There's just so many areas that we could have did something with shame with, because shame is one of those categories where literally anybody can get it. And that's what that season of Game of Thrones kind of demonstrated, is that once you start playing that shame game, man, it kind of goes around the whole room. All right. So we see that women are often being shamed for being sexual. Men are often shamed for not being sexual enough, or trained to equate sexuality with conquest. Queer people are often shamed for existing outside of inherited norms. Survivors are often shamed for what happened to them. Religious people are shamed through purity scripts. Post-religious people may feel shame for either wanting sex, not wanting sex, having sexual trauma, enjoying sex, questioning sex, or not fitting the liberated image. Again, I say shame is one of those games where literally anybody can get it. So I wanna, as we get ready to dive into the more interactive proportion, let's wrestle with a definition. Like, what is shame? And I should have put this as a chat question, but I didn't. But let's talk about this. What is shame to you? Like what is shame? I'm looking at the chat. I'm waiting for y'all. What is shame for you? What do you think about when you think about shame? And while you're thinking about it, I want to give you some parameters. Thank you so much. What is shame to you? And how is it different from guilt? How is it different from regret? How is it different from responsibility or conviction? What is shame? How do you know? How do you differentiate between when you're dealing with shame or when you're dealing with conviction? Like, oh, dang, I shouldn't have. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. What is shame for you? How do you define shame? Shame. What is shame? Well, the good news is I brought a definition with me. I did, and it's not mine. It's not mine. I have to be honest with you. My research isn't into shame, so I had to pull on somebody who's known for doing a lot of studying on shame. So come here, Brene Brown. Holler at us for a minute. Brene Brown says shame is a painful self-conscious emotion defined by a deep sense of unworthiness, inadequacy, or flaw. Brene says it stems from the belief that a personal failure, flaw, or behavior makes you unworthy of love and belonging, often accompanied by feelings of disgrace or dishonor. Does that kind of match how you feel? Does that kind of match where you're? I'm gonna read it again. Brene says shame is a painful self-conscious emotion. Self-conscious emotion. It's in here somewhere. Shame is a painful self-conscious emotion defined by a deep sense of unworthiness. I feel, thank you, a deep sense of unworthiness. I feel unworthy, inadequacy. I feel inadequate or flawed. I feel flawed. It stems from the belief that a personal failure, flaw, or behavior makes you unworthy of love and belonging. All right, so now that kind of, and often accompanied by feelings of disgrace or honor. Like, okay, so now maybe we see why so many people deal with shame, especially if you follow my work. Now, if you follow my work, the stuff that I do on Monday through Fridays, now if you follow that, you might understand why so many people deal with this, because what I just described for many people was the original sin. What I just described for many people was the fall of man. What I just described for many believers, that'd be shame, is what you ought to feel. You know, like no. But I love the way she put it. It's this feeling, and I like these words because, you know, oh man, I like these words because when we tie it to the words, shame is a feeling of unworthiness. Oh dang, is that what we want people out here feeling? Unworthy, inadequate, or flawed, and absent. This just means absent of intelligent design. I don't even know what flawed is. So you got to help me understand some things. But no, I like this. Shame is a painful, self-conscious emotion defined by a deep sense of unworthiness, inadequacy, or flaw. It stems from the belief that a personal failure, flaw, or behavior makes you unworthy of love and belonging, often accompanied by feelings of disgrace or dishonor. Okay, so let's talk about purity culture. I promise you I'm about to ask y'all some questions in a minute, but let's talk about purity culture that literally terrorizes teenagers, making them think that if they touch themselves in any type of way, that it breaks God's heart. You know, like some people, like it was bad enough when they were telling you that, you know, your grandmama or your granddaddy is watching you from heaven and it's breaking their heart. That was creepy, you know, by itself. But then you take it to also the overlord of everything is also watching, because he ain't got nothing better to do. And he's, you know, so tied up it's gonna break his heart, you know, and now because of that you are disgraced. Now that you are unworthy. That's just wild to me. But I can now clearly see like how some shame does come from that religious trauma. All right. So we got a little definition to workshop. Let's get into some of these poll questions. My first poll question of today. Let me see if I can get this thing started. Bam. All right, they make me have to change it every week. All right, so here's my question, and the answer choices are yes, no, and not sure. Okay, not sure, because idiocracy, right? Yes, no, not sure. Was shame a major part of your sexual education? And you can vote. You vote by putting the number in the chat. If yes, one, okay. I see that one just shot up there. Like it just went to 100%. That's wild. Okay. All right. We got some liberated folk in here. We got some liberated folk. Not sure. I got questions for you, not sure. But no, this is good. I love it when we see the poll kind of diversify like that. And so we got 67% who say yes. All right. We got 67% who says yes. And this is out of a total of 6 votes. If you haven't voted yet, get your vote in. What are you waiting on? All right. Get your vote in. Let's go ahead and get you practicing now. Like the election is coming up. Let's get your voting skills in tip-top condition now. You ain't got to wait. This is a great time. All right. So we're getting a few more votes in. There we go. Come on. What you waiting for? I see you hesitating. You're hesitating. Look, get to the phone and type in your number. 1 yes, 2 no, 3 not sure. We're getting a few. Okay, come on. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. All right. And it's still kind of holding steady at 67% of the people who have participated so far are communicating that their sexual education, that shame was a major part of their sexual education. You know what? I have not voted. Can I vote? I don't even know if I'm allowed to vote. I've not voted the whole time we've been playing. I don't know. Let's see if my vote changed. Yep, my vote went in. I voted. I'm so glad that so many of you are participating in this vote. I love this. I love seeing this. All right, so now we got to talk about it a little bit, though, right? So, what does that look like for you? And man, it's still moving. It's still moving. We have 19% at not sure. We got 2. All right, we got another one that's at a no. I don't know what an 870 is. That sounds like a cry for help. I don't know. What is it? Holla at me. Blink if you need help. Blink twice. Don't do it because I can't see you. And if you kidnap, they can. And so then they know you're being uncooperative in the wrong way. All right. No. Okay. So let's look at these. We have, I got to get back to it. There we go. Man, I love that we have more votes coming. We just got one at not sure, but we're at 60% for yes. And we're at, what is that? 30% for no. Okay. So what does that look like for you? So for those of you that grew up with shame as a part of your sexual education, what does that look like for you? I imagine, and this is just me taking my worldview and just assuming that or not my worldview, but my lived experience, man, it's still climbing. My lived experience, and assuming that it may intersect with yours a little bit somewhere. But for how many of you was sex kind of identified, or sexual stuff identified with language such as dirty and nasty? Like, that's nasty, that's dirty, like that, and I mean those specific words, or any words like that gives off this idea of unclean, because again, that's where that inadequacy and that unworthiness comes in at, right? I like that. My ass, my shame. Come on, man. I learned that I would be held accountable by God for any boners my ass inspired. That's right. Yeah, that's like, it's your fault. It's your fault, That's hilarious and sad. It's hilariously sad. It's hilariously sad. I was raised as pagans. Pagans are liberated. I love it. Alan said, it's fun to be dirty. Listen, I ain't mad at you. Like, that reminds me of a song. There has to be a song like about it's fun to be dirty. Like, there has to be at least one. There has to be at least one. But no, like there's definitely, even the language that's used around sex, around sexuality, to stigmatize it is often attached this language of things not being clean. That's dirty. That's nasty, that's disgusting, and it can be behavior from self-pleasure or doing behavior that's outside of what people would identify as a social norm within whatever closed-minded context they have. Oh, that's disgusting. And though you ever notice how that language creates such a stigma? Was teen pregnancy will set you back in life it was the running theme. The True Love Waits conferences. Oh my goodness. How many of y'all remember the True Love Waits conferences? Man, cover up lest you cause your brother to stumble. How about my brothers learn to stop tripping on their dicks? Like, I feel like that needs to be in a stand-up comedy sketch. I do. So the general consensus here for the majority of people who've answered this question, the answer is yes. For one of the people that I saw who answered no, it wasn't a shame. One of the answers was because, I grew up in a pagan household. I'm curious for other people who also grew up in a place where you say like, nah, shame wasn't attached to sexuality when I was growing up. What was your background? Was it also pagan? Was it just for my no's, for everybody who voted no? If you can give us a little insight without giving too much of yourself up, what was it that made it a no for you? What happened in your household that kept shame from being a part of your sexual education? And I'm really interested in seeing that answer. Cultural Catholic. Interesting. That is interesting. Now, see, now I have questions. because there's so many common areas that shame gets attached to. Again, masturbation, sexual identity, the whether it's LGBT, Q, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer. Education is the word that is maybe education is the word that is throwing me off. Oh man. You know what? I think I kind of get that too when I read it a few times. I don't know why I kept throwing the word religious before education in my mind. But there can also be shame around loss of virginity. Like how many of you had to deal with now? How many of you had to? I don't want to assume that just that if you were a dude, you didn't have to. You know what I'm saying? Non-binary, yes. Q can also be questioning. Thank you. I like that. Like, so how many of you was loss of virginity a issue for you? Like I lost my virginity before I got saved, so like it was like kind of like too late. But it was something that I felt bad about. Like, man, dang, I'm not gonna be able to give my wife a wick that's never been lit before, and it's just like, well, darn it. Yikes. But for a while, like I did feel like a lot of shame about it. Like, dang, I just didn't do it God's way. There's divorce. Divorce is another area of shame. While not directly correlated with sexuality itself, it's like being correlated with having sex again after you've already been bound to one other person. Like, hey, you're not supposed to go pick another one. First time was underwhelming. I don't remember my first time. That's when I realized I had a problem. Like, that's when I realized something was abnormal about my life. It was like, oh, that's probably not good, buddy. Some people have shame around my church practice confession that got awkward fast. Oh my goodness. I mean, I can just only imagine. Thankfully, I was not a part of a confessional tradition, but I say thankfully, but we did end up having accountability partners. Did any of y'all ever have to do the accountability partners? Which that's weird. Like the accountability partners did just kind of come off as homoerotic. I'm just gonna be honest with you, like because you're talking to other people about your masturbation habits, and it's like you're supposed to let them know when you do it so they can shame you but also at the same time tell you, hey, I do it too. And and eventually you just imagine it getting to, hey, you just want to do it together, man, so that way we can cover each other's back. Like, it's just weird. I'm just saying, I'm putting that out there. But those are the types of things that get a lot of shame thrown into the mix. Polyamory, or just existing outside of proud latchkey kid. I know that's right. Or existing outside of the norms of monotheism. But what are the mono relationships? Monogamy. I was having a hard time finding that. I think I was trying to go to monolatry. I'm not allowed to talk about my first time or I'm going to hell. Wow, I'm not gonna take that bait. I am not taking that bait. There's a joke in the chat. I'm not taking it. I'm not taking it. So I do have our first interactive question of the day, and this is going to be a big one. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for a little bit. I'll end this poll. Let me see where we ended up at on this poll. Good, man. I love that. We got a good amount of votes in there. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to hide it. And now I'm going to share my screen. We're going back to Mentimeter this week, which I used last week. Let me do something different with me. Bam, I'm throwing me at the bottom. All right. So if you want to get here, you can either scan the QR code on the screen, or you can type menti.com and put in the code. Now, this is going to be the only question of this format that I'll ask for the entire session. This will be the only one of this format that I'll ask for the entire session. And the reason we're doing it that way is because I want you to put as many answers on this one as you can. We're going to keep coming back to this board. We're going to call this board our wall of shame. Now, the reason that I do like using this, other than some of the cool creative aspects when we have multiple questions, is that you can participate anonymously. So whatever your shame is, you can add it to the board without having to point yourself out. You know what I'm saying? So if you have a very, very specific kink or fetish that is a part of your shame that you don't want other people exactly knowing that's you, avoid putting that in the chat. Add that to the board. And it looks like, are we getting things on the board already? I think we are. Let me come over here. Let me go over here and see what's going on. Being born. Wow, that hurt. Like that hurt. See, like, but that's why we want this. That's why we want this. Man, y'all are getting at it. All right. And basically I'll just kind of add the question to it because it seems like y'all know what you're doing. And we're going to come back to this throughout today's session and just look at what's on our board. And so I'm going to hide our board for now. I'm going to take my screen down, but you keep on, no, let me put it back up just in case there's other people who want to get there. So I'm gonna keep it up for now, just in case there's other people who want to get there and have not gotten there yet. And I will be bringing it up periodically throughout the session so that you didn't get it the first time, you'll get another chance. But the biggest question right now is to name your shame. What did you feel ashamed of, even before you had language for it, you know? And this is our wall of shame, and we're gonna be building it out together. We're going to be building it out together. And now I'm going to put it back on me because I'm arrogant and I like to look at myself when I'm talking. Yes. All right. Let me check this chat before I get back. Overwhelmed. Yes. Wow. Not being enough, not being good enough, strong enough, smart enough, having done enough. Come on, man. Like there's so much. There's so much. Okay. So let me give you this, and then we'll jump to our next poll question and our next chat question. Brown identifies what 12 recurring areas where people experience shame that we can call the 12 shame categories. And I'm gonna run through all 12 just so you'll know them, and you can check these out in our works. I think I have a note to myself to suggest a few books at the end. We will see if I remember. But the good news is one of her books got plugged. And I think the one that got plugged today earlier, unplanned, I didn't plan this. Me and Mark didn't get together and talk about this. But I think the book that he plugged earlier was actually one of the books that I'm going to plug. So we'll talk. Yeah, because it's, shame. But appearance and body image is one of the 12 areas of shame. Motherhood, fatherhood, parenting. Family, parenting, mental and physical health, addiction. That's a thing, right? Sex, aging. Some people feel shame around aging, which that's just horrible. How do you make people feel shamed for aging? Like, and maybe I feel bad for that one because I'm aging. Like I'm getting up there. I'm closer to that side now. And I'm like, hey, be mean to people because they're aging. Like we shouldn't be feeling shame just because we're getting older and getting a few more gray hairs in our beard that never grew in right anyway, which is already letting us know that the days of ever having a full beard are already over. But that's just my quiet thoughts out loud. But like shame for aging, that's wild to me. But religion, obviously we deal with a lot of religious shame. Surviving trauma, an area of shame that likely doesn't get the attention it deserves. Not just surviving the trauma, but like the shame that comes attached to it. Being stereotyped or labeled. I'm Black and I wear glasses. There's a lot of stereotypes that come with that. There are. And then you add being articulate to that. Oh my goodness, and then money or work, which is kind of like, I think we had that kind of alluded to in the chat. Now, for our conversation, the most applicable are sex, religion, appearance and body image, surviving trauma, and being stereotyped or labeled. Like even just the way that we sexualize each other with our language. Like, oh man, you look sexy. And it's just like, well, really, I just put this on because I'm hot. You know, it's a hot day, but now you've sexualized my weather condition. You know what I'm saying? And that goes both ways. That I grew up in a culture that highly sexualized men. You know, like every television show that I watched was going to have a scene where the man was going to take off his shirt and show like his little fake six packs. I'm hating because I was fat. I can do that, but you know, show off his little fake six pack, and all of the women in the audience are going to go, ooh, you know, like you just saw it everywhere, and it definitely sent this messaging for. I don't want to say it sent this messaging, but I received the messaging that, hey, dude, fat is not where it's at, and you need to get skinny because women want their men to be like hard as a rock, like they want to break a fingernail on them type of thing. So, you know, don't get your hopes up too high, you know. So no, like there's all of these different categories, all these different ways that we sexualize each other, that we put others into these containers and try to lock them into. And these categories show that shame is not just private insecurity. It's organized around cultural expectations about what bodies, desires, families, and identities are supposed to be. And I want to say that again, because I feel like there's a lot more gold in that nugget than some people are willing to mine. But listen, shame is not just private insecurity. There's a difference between insecurity and shame. Okay. Like one is a personal phenomenon, the other is a social phenomenon. There's a difference between insecurity and shame. Insecurity is what you think about yourself. Shame is often what you're afraid other people think about you. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I say one is a personal phenomenon. They both feel personal to you. Like you are personally impacted by your shame, but that impact often comes from voices that are not even yours. Okay, all right. I'm gonna get out of preacher mode. I'm sorry. We're supposed to be having a conversation. Let's get back in. I ain't trying to make nobody cry. Okay, so I got a chat question for you. Let's see here. Chat question is, how did religion impact your relationship with shame? With shame? And let's talk about that. How did religion impact your relationship with shame? Well, I know for me, religion was kind of the container for what I should be ashamed for. It's religion is one of the first things that taught me how to be ashamed. Yes, I love that, Jude. It introduced us. It introduced me to shame, even when I didn't know to be ashamed, even when I didn't understand shame. But like reading, and y'all know a little bit about my background. Like even before I got saved and got into it, I had an aunt who was kind of hyper religious, and so she went to punish me for talking too much at school. She'd make me read the Bible, and then she was like, "I'm sure you skipped some stuff, so go back and write it." And so like I'd have to read the book of Genesis, and then I have to go back and write the book of Genesis. Okay. And so, but like, so I'm reading Genesis, and in Genesis, you know, I'm just like, okay, so God is creating naked people. You know, I'm not gonna question his kink. Okay. He's creating naked people and putting them in the garden. I play with my toys like that sometimes too. Okay. They came with clothes, you know, but so God is creating naked people. He's putting them in the garden. These people have never been here before. And then there's this tree, and it looked like it got stuff to eat on it. And God is like, don't eat that one, even though it looked like it got stuff to eat on it. And the people go eat the tree, not eat the tree, but they eat the fruit after talking to a serpent, which I guess I got to just pass that and assume that either means something I don't understand or serpents talk. But it talks to the serpent, and then bam, now they've committed a grave sin that is worthy of punishment, getting kicked out of the house so bad, like you can't ever come back. Like they really could have named Genesis like, "Now I got to kill you," part 1, because like that's kind of like the message is like, you messed up so bad that now I got to kill you. I got to kick you out of this house because you can't ever come back here. And this is my introduction into shame. Like, and at that moment, I shouldn't be ashamed that I'm naked at this grown man's house. No, don't be ashamed for that. Be ashamed for eating an apple and then realizing that you were naked and putting some clothes on. That is a very conflicting message to send kids. I'm just saying, I didn't mean to go down the comedic rabbit hole, but it is like it's a problem. It's a problematic way to introduce shame to children. It's a very egotistic way, to a narcissistic way to introduce shame to children, because then shame has nothing to do with harm done. Oh man. The shame in that context, it has nothing to do with harm caused. I didn't hurt anybody. Didn't steal anything from anybody. I disobeyed a rule that was never explained. I disobeyed something that didn't make sense. I did something different with my lived experience than you wanted me to do with my lived experience. And that's enough for me to be condemned. The question was, how did religion impact your relationship with shame? You know, young men out there, tell me, how did Onan impact your relationship with shame? Reading about Onan for the first time. Do you know who Onan is? Not, you know, Onan? No, Onan. He's this dude that he's supposed to fulfill his biblical obligations to his brother, his dead brother's wife, and he decides to pull out before completing the process, and then God strikes him dead, like just dead, for spilling his seed. And like for years in Christian theology, for decades, centuries even, there was something called Onanism, which was basically this idea that God hates masturbation so much. And of course, the context of the story is not about masturbation, but it was the idea that God hates masturbation so much that he killing people for it. You know, like that's right up there on his list with eating shellfish. Talk about shame. You know, so the question is, how did religion impact your relationship with shame? Brown includes religion as one of the shame categories. Religious shame often teaches people that their body, their desire, their curiosity, their pleasure, or their sexual history is evidence of spiritual failure. So again, that's stuff like feeling unworthy because of masturbation, feeling spiritually contaminated after sex, feeling less valuable after divorce, feeling impure after assault, feeling like sexual desire itself is rebellion against God, feeling that the LGBTQ plus identity is not merely different, but morally defective. And, you know, honestly, let me just kind of pause right here real quick and just kind of get into vision mode, because for a session like this, I really would love for us all to be in the same room. Even if we was all in different rooms, there just need to be people in the room together for like sessions like this, because like, man, like let's just have a moment of meditation on that. Just feeling unworthy because of masturbation or contamination after sex, or feeling less valuable after divorce, feeling impure after assault, feeling like sexual desire is rebellion against a higher order, a natural order. Like these are real umbrellas of weight that people actually live under. And like, this is more than just having an opportunity to speak to it. It's really giving people the opportunity to breathe in it and to live in it. And you have no idea how powerfully therapeutic that is, just to be in the room with each other and to be able to breathe and just be like, ooh. So it's not just me. And, you know, and that's that realization that like, I'm not just being insecure. There's a real issue here that is bigger than me. And that can be so freeing sometimes, because then that helps you remember that, man, I wasn't just being sensitive. This wasn't me just overreacting. No, this is something that actually impacts other people. And I just couldn't get in the room with those other people to know that there was other people like like me. Y'all gonna make me want to preach, okay? You're gonna make me do it. Y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here. Okay. All right. So I got another poll question. Let's jump over here to the polls. Let's start. I'm okay. I've already started. All right. Do you find it harder to talk about sex, desire, boundaries, or regret? Which one of these is the hardest conversation for you? For some of y'all, I should have put like number 5, none of them, you know. No, which one of these is the hardest conversation for you? Do you find it harder to talk about sex? Do you find it harder to talk about desire? Do you find it harder to talk about boundaries? Or do you find it harder to talk about regret? This is good. Wow. Dang. You know, and it's funny because I was thinking through what my answer would be, and feel free to tell us why too. I was thinking about what my answer would be while I'm reading through it. Which one do I find it harder to talk about? I've never had a hard time talking about sex. Even as a believer, even when I was super duper saved, like I could talk about sex. I had no problem talking about sex. I've been writing, just no lie, just you know, transparent moment. I've been writing erotica probably since I was 5, you know, type of thing. So I've never had a problem talking about sex, but I have run into other people who had problems talking about sex. Desire is also not an area that I've had a problem really talking about. Like I can talk about what I desire because I'm kind of in touch with what I desire, but in regret, like I have no problems talking about regret. Like I don't know, I grew up too poor to be proud. You know what I'm saying? Like I grew up too poor to be proudful. So like regrets, be like, oh, you got regrets? I mean, bruh, if you look at where I started, like you got to get a few regrets under your belts to get out of that mess. You know what I'm saying? So like I have no problem talking about regrets, but boundaries. That's it. And when I say, watch this, I want to give you some nuance of how I approach the question. Like boundaries are hard for me to talk about, not in the sense that I don't like talking about them. Nah, it's in the sense I don't even know how to. Most times I don't even know where to start with boundaries. And I'm just going to get real naked real quick. Most times I don't even know where to start with boundaries. And this is, you're going to deal with some of my religious trauma because I still struggle with trying to figure out which boundaries am I allowed to have. Bro, y'all don't want to talk. No, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's a sign of health. I'm saying that's one of my real struggles. Like that's just not sex. That's relationships. That's money. That's not like, damn, am I being a jackass for having this boundary? That's a real question I have with myself. Grunter, are you having a boundary or are you just being prideful? Are you being arrogant? Are you being narcissistic? Are you not being normal? Are you not fitting? Well, why do you have that boundary and other people don't have that boundary? You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, oh my goodness, like a part of my trauma. And this, when I say it's a part of my trauma, the reason I know it's a part of my trauma because it's something that I actively work on. Like this is something I've been actively working on in my life, is resisting the urge to filter my authenticity through other people's permission. Oh, this is good. Yeah, no. I'm gonna resist the urge to filtering my authenticity through other people's permission. And as a YouTuber, do you know how hard that is? Do you know how hard that is? Because like when you're a YouTuber, like you're a consumable product. And so the customer is always right in matters of taste. And so like when you're getting a negative comment as a YouTuber, that's someone telling you they don't like the way you taste. And it's like, dang it, I'm trying not to filter my authenticity through other people's permission. But it is hard, right? That's a real struggle. So for me, boundaries is one of those areas that I have a hard time talking about, especially if I'm in a relationship with somebody I love, because if it even looks like you're going to push back against the boundary, I might redraw the lines. I'm just being honest. I'm just going to tell the truth. No, if I look like, oh, I think that was too much, so maybe I'll just put the boundary back out further. Maybe that'll be a little more comfortable. Oh, good. See, and look, that's my story. I'm curious what yours is. So you just figured out which one I have a hard time talking about. What is it for you? Especially now that you've heard a little nuance, maybe the one you have the hardest time talking about isn't the one that you're the most ashamed of. Maybe it's the one that you're the least free in. I'm the most ashamed about my regrets, for sure. Yes. But I am the least free in my boundaries. Oh my goodness. So I'm curious, what is it for you? Or why is it for you? And how many votes did we get on this one? I'll come back to the chat in a few. We're getting some really good participation here, man. I'm loving this. And we got 63% at boundaries. We got what is that? 13% at regret, 13% at sex, and 13% at desire. 13% at desire. It was boundaries for me. I can talk about sex all day long. If sex is one of those things for you, what makes sex hard talking about? If regret is hard for you, let me take a guess for regret. Because I do notice that. And maybe this is some of the baby that I got out of the bathwater of Christianity. All right. Especially the type of Christianity I was in. So the type of Christianity that I was in was a very testimonial culture. You know what testimonial culture is? Like you come out and you tell, how you done made it through and a little stuff like that. But within that testimonial culture, there also this phrase developed that I fell in love with when I was in high school. Because I was sexually active and a minister. And so I was like, And so there's this phrase that someone said, you have to learn how to embarrass the devil, or you got to learn how to embarrass sin before sin embarrasses you. And I don't know why this phrase worked like that for me, but it dang sure got me into this place where I would tell you my business before anybody else did. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you weren't really going to hear rumors about me because I was going to tell you. I was going to tell you with a lot of pomp and circumstance too. I can't believe I did this. Dang, I fell again. I'm probably going to fall again in a few months from now. But until then, I'm going to be holding on, Lord. No, I'm going to embarrass it before it embarrasses me. And that's really become a part of my personality when it comes to regrets. I'm like, oh no, I did some things there, but it has to be, that's another thing. It has to be my regret. It can't be nobody else's regret. And that's a hard thing for me. But I imagine for some people, I've seen that it's really hard having to live in the fact that you made a decision that you're not happy with. And I'm like, man, I've made tons of decisions that I'm not happy with. And the thing is, I don't live in a world where anything other than that was possible. I'm going to say that again. I've made tons of decisions that I was not happy with. But I don't live in a world where anything other than that is possible. I do not live in a world where there is this version of me who could have possibly gotten everything right. That doesn't even exist. I don't even know how to quantify what getting everything right would even look like. So it's no longer an expectation for me. It's no longer an expectation. All right. So this was good. All right. So let's check back and see what our wall of shame looks like. Let's see what our wall of shame looks like. All right. Let me put me down here so I can see, and I'm gonna come to it on my other tab. This thing is built up. This is built up. And so this is us naming our shame. This is us naming our shame. And let's look at some of this. Being born, that was the one that I said broke my heart. Just like, man, I no longer have like this savior complex, which I really did before. Like it was a really bad thing, and it was not great for my mental health. But like if I still had that savior complex, I'd be like, no, we got to save you now. Like, because it breaks my heart that there are people out there who feel that way, you know. And like, and I was born into like a rough situation. But I don't know. I've been able to find something in life, and I can only call that privilege at this moment, because it just breaks my heart seeing that's a shame that people have. You know, thankfully, my parents were so bad that they weren't able to inflict any long-term damage. All right, let's keep moving. All right, the next one is sex on the first date. Oh, not even just sex for the first time. Just sex on the first date. Yeah. Yeah. People do have shame around that. I'm remembering those days now. Like that was actually a thing. That was actually a conversation. Apparently having boobs invalidates any opinions and or preferences I might have, especially if any men in the room disagrees with me. Yeah. Another area of shame, my body. Now, and honestly, my body has been a big area of shame for me the majority of my life. The majority of my life, I was overweight. And even though I've lost the majority of the weight, I still have the fat suit on under here. But I noticed that I kind of passed that. I passed down like my body insecurity issues, in a sense, at least in behavior, down to my sons. And they're very athletic. But it took them years to get comfortable taking their shirts off in public, because I would never take mine off in public. So we go swimming, we go to the beach or something like that. Bruh man is wearing a shirt because I have boobs, you know, and it's just like, if you have boobs, you're supposed to wear. So that's how I always saw it. It was just never a gender thing for me. It was just like, some people have boobs, and if you have boobs, other people can't control themselves. Can you imagine that a big burly black man like felt unsafe showing his boobs in the world? Felt like he'd be harassed if he showed his boobs. Like, and I felt like I would be harassed, not sexually, but comically. And that would be bad for me. But anyway, I did notice that, like, man, I remember looking at my kids and they're going to pool parties and stuff. And they're like, you know, they got their shirts on. And I'm like, dang, they're doing that because of me. Because I was, you know, so ashamed of myself that, you know, I just didn't show up in the world like that, you know. Which they're over it now. Like they realize they have muscles and stuff. So, you know, they're doing way better than I was, you know. My shame is how much time I spent afraid of failure. I get that. That's definitely one of my regrets. one of my regrets is how much time I spent afraid of failure. The only reason I don't have any shame around that anymore would be because, like, for me, it's just the math. It's just like I spent so long at it. I spent so long afraid because I was in a society that benefited from me being afraid, you know? And I'm glad that I got out. Sometimes we can't blame ourselves for being stuck for as long as we did. We have to be able to be proud of ourselves for getting out when we did. Shame for enjoying pleasure. Yeah, I mean, that's a hard one, right? Like, and that it's a sneaky one, because that's not just it's not just religious shame that can come in there. You know what I'm saying? As a person who's lived a significant portion of my life as an activist, I think about that like almost any time. I'm like, man, like there's people out there in war. There's people out there suffering in poverty, and you really about to get that Krispy Kreme, huh? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just me. That's just me. Like, you don't want to live in my head. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure up there. Laziness, shame for laziness. I get that. I'm a hyper productive person, so I probably contribute to people feeling shamed about being lazy. But this is one of the reasons why I had to learn early on that everything isn't for everybody. Because I used to be super hard on people, like, and I finally had to realize, like, hey, dude, their lives are not your lives. You know, their lived experience are not your lived experience. They don't need your permission to be authentically them, you know. And maybe what you're calling lazy is something else, you know. You're not doing it because it doesn't work for you. They're doing it because maybe it works for them. And of course, I'll be like, but no, dude, this doesn't work for anybody. And I'm like, you may think you have that evidence. And for the most part, I do. I do think I have that evidence. But it's like you don't have a God's eye view in anybody's life, you know. But then again, that's another great point of how so much of this is what we really think of other people thinking of us. Being attracted to other men. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, dude, I don't think I knew how homophobic my community was until I pastored, you know. And I pastored like the hood church, I pastored the inclusive church, I pastored the church where we constantly said stuff like, we don't care what you smoked last night, we don't care who you slept with, you know. But you might as well have said, we don't care who you slept with unless you slept with somebody you weren't supposed to sleep with. And that we ain't talking about adultery, you know, type of thing. And I had to like watch it in real time. I've shared this story on my channel before. We hired a person who wasn't like out the closet. They were apparently gay. I call them what we call apparently gay. Like you just look at him like, I think he might be gay. And the thing is, he was gay. He ended up being one of my best friends. But we hired him to be our worship leader. Oh no, it wasn't him. It was the one we hired before him. The one we hired before him. We hired him to be our worship leader, and we lost like damn near 70%, 40 to 70% of our congregation, like in a month, because they didn't like this gay dude who was up on Sundays. And I mean, he wasn't touching them or nothing. Like he wasn't stripping or doing it. He's just singing songs, and he's teaching the other people how to sing, and he's leading the music. But like, I was like, oh snap! Like these people, like really behaved as if they were going to be infected, you know. And it's those societal stigmas. Remember, that's when I kind of open up with when when you take private behavior and you turn it into a public category, and then you use that public category to create moral contamination. That's how societies create shame, because now you've trained other people to try to reinforce the shame through punishment, you know. Oh, well, if you're going to support those type of people, we're not going to come to this church. And it's just like, what? And so, like, we did end up letting that guy go, but it had nothing to do with that. His like career was actually blowing up as a gospel artist type thing. And so we hired another person who was apparently gay. And we just said, everybody who doesn't like it, you're going to have to get over it. And he did great. He did great. All right. So no, thank you for sharing light bondage. All right. Yeah. So I'm guessing that's a little kink. That's not like a prayer request. That's not like I just want this burden to be lighter, light bondage. That's a thing that some people like. And I can, after some things that I've, experienced recently, I definitely understand why people would feel shamed. I'm not saying they should, but I have seen how society weaponizes categories, how they weaponize labels. I think I used to worry I was unclean when I was young, not dirty, but just like not pure. I kind of get that. Being told that I don't smile enough. Wow. I used to feel shame for being sexually attracted to other women, but I don't anymore. Go you. That's what I'm talking about. Like I like to hear that people are finding their freedom and living in it. And honestly, that's what we all need more of. What we all need more of is access to people who are finding their freedom and living in it. You become an example for the rest of us. You telling your story, you become an example for the rest of us. Your visibility, your vocality makes it easier for other people to show up. We talked about that in the stream earlier this week about booty eating, but I will not go back there. All right, so let's get ready to wrap this thing up today, guys. All right, so I want to hit this. Brown uses the idea of a shame web. Let me hide the poll. Did we get some more in the poll? All right, and that looks good. But let me take the poll down for a moment. Stop poll. Hide poll. All right. Brene Brown uses the idea of a shame web to describe how shame comes from overlapping expectations from family, peers, media, religion, community, gender roles, and self-talk. So one review of her book summarizes this as expectations and opinions from others plus the dominant culture. People are not usually shamed by one source only. They may hear from family, don't embarrass us, or from religion, your body is sinful, or your nature is sinful. Thank you. That is perfect. Please leave that up a little bit too, because I'm coming right back to that. From peers, everybody knows what you did. From gender roles, good girls don't do this, or real men do this. From culture, you may hear be sexy, but not too sexual. And then from self-talk, something must be wrong with me because I just can't seem to get this right. I just don't seem to fit into anybody else's bubble. And all of this is, according to Brene Brown, which I kind of agree with here, is that these are the expectations and opinions from others plus the dominant culture behaving as your voice. All right. Okay. It's not your voice. It's the expectations and opinions from others from plus dominant culture behaving as your internal voice. And there's this small thought experiment that I do with people when I used to do counseling that kind of helps you see this. And it's not fancy. I promise you, it's not fancy. Anybody can do it. It's not clinical. It's just a little thought experiment you can do. And it is, you take out a piece of paper. That piece of paper can be big or as little as you want it to be, but you take out a piece of paper and you get you a pen, or you get you a little piece of chalk, or you get you some marker, or you get you a quill and some ink. Get you whatever you use to write, to do some heavy thinking, okay? And the thought experiment is, you're just going to write out all of your likes and your dislikes, all of them. Every single one of them you can think about. I don't care if it's food or freaky. All of your likes, all of your dislikes, you're going to write them down, get them out on as much get as many of them out as you can. And then you're going to go through each one of them and ask why. And you're going to ask why until you get to the root. Okay. So you're going to put all the things you like and you dislike on a paper. You can go through each one of them, your freaky stuff, your naughty stuff, your guilty stuff, your sneaky stuff, every bit of the stuff that you think makes you better than everybody else, all of it. Just put it all out. Your dislikes, your likes. And then you're going to ask yourself for each one of them, why do I like this? Why do I not like this? And you're going to keep asking that question until you get the root. Is this something that I chose? Or is this something that I inherited? Is this a like or a dislike I have based off of experience, based off of education, based off of engagement, or is this an inherited script? And a lot of times when people walk through that little thought experiment, when they walk through that experiment and they get themselves out, they find out so much of what they thought was their shame is actually their mama's shame, is actually, their uncle's shame. It's actually the shame from the context of the type of movies they watch. All this stuff be going all the way back to Free Willy. You think you mad at yourself, and it's the little kid in Free Willy who's disappointed in you because you had this weird attachment to that kid when you watched the movie. But that's why you do the hard work of actually processing your thoughts. Like, there's a lot of thoughts that pop up. All of them ain't yours, But and that's a whole nother conversation just about how much information we're inundated with and how that information gets processed. And so, like, here's the thing, and damn, this is gonna sound a little religious, but like, you don't got to claim every thought that come to your head, Like, every thought ain't your thought. Sit with that thing. It's like, is this me or is this my mama? Okay. Is this me or is this my dad? Is this me or is this the music I've been listening to lately? All right, let's go. So that's how that shame web works, which I really love that concept. I'm going to move fast here. Let me hit. I'm going to put this chat question in just so y'all can be thinking about it. And I'm going to go to the poll question. And the chat question is, what is the difference between healthy responsibility and toxic shame? What is the difference between healthy responsibility and toxic shame? And I want to kind of workshop that a little bit, because that is one of the false binaries that comes in people's mind when we're talking about getting away from shame. Is that, well, it just sounds a lot like you just trying to let go of responsibility. And I don't really appreciate that level of engagement, because it's a false binary. The lack of responsibility isn't on the other side of lack of shame. You know what I'm saying? That's not how that works. So what exactly is the difference between healthy responsibility and toxic shame? And I think, and it's just me, I think I kind of hinted on it earlier, of just realizing that, okay, that insecurity is this personal thing, and this shame is this societal induced thing. And the reason I'm kind of hitting that, and it's a thin line, is because 9 times out of 10, the thing we feel shame for are not always the same things we feel shamed of. Okay, can we sit in that for a minute? The things that we feel shamed for are not always the things that we feel ashamed of. It's like, I don't feel ashamed of doing this. I feel shame for doing this because this is what other people are going to think about it. Okay. All right. Come on out. What's the difference between healthy responsibility and toxic shame? And this is a great segue before we get into this other poll question, is about the other categories she lists as surviving trauma. She lists surviving trauma as a shame category, which I thought was incredibly well informed. It's especially important because many communities shame people not only for what they choose, but for what was done to them. You know, and I do, like, I come from that culture, and I'm not saying like the Black culture, I'm talking like just the culture that I grew up in. I do come from that culture that we did shame people for what was done to them. You know, the hallmarks are there. If something happens, an assault happens, and even though, like, we could 100% believe you that something went wrong, and in the culture that I was raised in, they were going to ask, but what was she wearing though? Okay. Don't let it happen at a place that sells alcohol. Well, was she drinking? And at this moment, it's at that moment, we're not just we're shaming people for what has happened to them. We're saying, you did something to set yourself up for this. You invited this. You opened this. That's some of that toxic shame. Oh, and I love it now. Because what we think we're looking for is healthy responsibility. And yet what we're trying to assign is toxic shame. Like, could you imagine, like, after having your house broke into, like somebody breaks in your house and steals all your stuff, and somebody asks you like, yeah, but did you have the top lock though? So as you like, yeah, but I do notice you be leaving your windows up sometimes. I'm just saying, I'm not saying you were asking for it, but you do be leaving your windows up a lot. Like, could you imagine that? Could you imagine that? It's silly. Don't shame somebody after somebody else broke in their house. You know, my house didn't do nothing to be asked to be broken into. As if we have these rules that if your door is wide open, anybody can just break in. Like, that's the, like, no. All right, so I got to get this question, and this one is a little heavier one, and it's a poll, so we don't have to go into details, but I have a question. Have you ever experienced shame after trauma? And just to be clear, trauma doesn't have to be violent to be valid. Okay? Because I think sometimes people think, oh, it was only traumatizing if it hurt enough to seem painful for other people. No, that's not how pain works. It hurts because it hurts you. And so trauma doesn't have to be violent to be valid. I think that's one of the biggest things that that people who end up going to therapy end up finding out about themselves. They think like, oh man, I'm so good. And the therapist like, oh baby, you've been traumatized your whole little life, ain't you? And you're thinking like, no, I've never been traumatized in my life. Because in your mind, you think of trauma as just like getting beat up black and blue. And that's very telling if that's where your mind goes for trauma. Because then it's just like, oh yeah, no, if I'm not getting beaten up black and blue, then it's not trauma, which is actually a coping mechanism. You see how that works? All right, so we got 80%. What is that? 86%. Y'all know I got old people eyes. 86% yes. 80%, 86% yes. And just to give some examples, shame that you may experience after trauma is being treated as damaged after experiencing trauma. This is one, like, just not even sexual trauma. This is one that both my wife and I experienced as kids because we grew up without fathers that were present or known or around, type of thing. And so there was always language from well-meaning people where anything we did that didn't line up with other people's expectations, well, they're just doing that because they miss their daddy. They just doing that because they don't have a daddy. They need a father figure in their life to really make sure that, like, at that moment, you kind of treating us like we're damaged, like something is wrong with us because of something somebody else didn't do. Victims being blamed for clothing, location, intoxication, flirtation, or past sexual history. Which victims being blamed for intoxication is the weirdest one to me, because it's like intoxication is like one of the clearest signs of no consent. Like, were you drinking to the point of getting drunk? Well, if I was, that's like the obvious no right there, isn't it? Like, isn't that where the no begins? I don't know. Maybe I missed the memo. Maybe. People feeling responsible for abuse they endured. You called that attention to yourself. Families pressuring survivors into silence to protect reputation. In the church world, I've seen it a lot. And then religious communities asking, like, what did you do to invite this? This is one of the clearest bridges between Brené Brown's work on shame and research and what we open up with the scene from Game of Thrones, which just shows this sexual moral panic. Shame can move blame away from harm doers and on to the harm. Okay, which brings us to our final poll question of the evening, and I hope y'all are ready for it. Oh, we had a chat question. Thank you for catching me there, because I almost went to the poll. What would it look like to replace shame with honesty, care, and boundaries and responsibility? Number one, I think it looks like conversations like this. It starts when communities as a whole are willing to create space for different type of conversations. Replacing shame with honesty, care, boundaries, and responsibility would look like telling the truth about harm and desire without attacking human worth, creating enough safety for people to speak honestly, setting clear limits around behavior, and requiring repair where damage has been done. Shame asks, how do we make this person feel unworthy? Responsibility asks, what truth needs to be told, what boundary needs to be honored, and what repair needs to happen. I had a lot more chat questions than I expected. So I got another chat question. How do communities use sexual shame to control belonging? And this is one that I was so tempted to skip this because we're almost 2 hours in. I was so tempted, but this is too good, so I got to hit it. You're going to let me hit it and quit it and roll with it? I'm going to do it anyway. Let's go. Communities use sexual shame, and I want to see you in the chat. Like, that's what I've not been seeing. It's not lit up over here. There we go. That's communities use sexual shame to enforce social boundaries and demand conformity. By dictating acceptable desires and behaviors, they establish an in-group of the morally compliant while isolating others. This dynamic is maintained through internalized stigma, public exposure, and gender role enforcement. And that's why, like, breaking the cycles of shame is not just a personal thing, because it's a social issue. And so in order to really deal with shame, we got to deal with it together. We got to deal with it out in the public. That's how you reverse the social stigma. All right. So this dynamic is maintained through internalized stigma, public exposure, and gender role enforcement. So internalized stigma is where shame shifts the burden of control from the community to the individual. This isn't a community problem. This is a you problem. Like Jude mentioned, and Jude and Elaine mentioned in the text earlier today, young boys not being able to control themselves after looking at booty is not the problem. The booty is the problem. Okay. At that moment, we're shifting the burden of control from the community to the individuals. When groups teach that certain desires, orientations, or histories are defective or sinful, individuals internalize this messaging. Then there's gendered double standards. Societies often use sexual shame to enforce rigid gender norms. Women and marginalized genders bear the brunt of this control, often shamed for both the lack of sexual experience and for expressing sexual autonomy, which there's a scene in Great Balls of Fire that demonstrates that in a very weird, creepy way, but it's there. You go check it out. I'm not going to say anything else about it. There's also ostracization and public shaming. This is public disapproval, slut shaming, or rumor spreading. If you want to as a humanist, this is hard for me to say, but like, you want to lose my respect, be a part of a rumor. Like, be a part of rumor spreading. Like, oh my goodness. Like, your cool points drop so quickly for me at that moment. Like, I get dang near violently averse to rumors. I've had at least 3 people try to feed me rumors about other people. And like, I'm like, hey, what are you doing? This is not a high school like playground or whatnot. I don't even know if they have playgrounds at high school. This is not a middle school playground. Don't do that. Don't bring me no bones. I don't want that. I don't like that. So I'm not a rumor type guy. But that's partly like one of those things that I look at as a red flag of toxic communities, though. Like, if I look at a community and there's a lot of rumors spreading going on and a lot of people participating in it, I'm like, oh, I want to get out of this room as quickly as I can. Where's the exit button? The exit door. All right. So when a member violates the sexual consensus, communities often use public humiliation to strip them of their social standing. The implicit threat of becoming a social outcast forces compliance from everyone in the community. So now, out of these 3 mechanisms that we just kind of talked through, which one do you think is most harmful? Is it the internalized stigma and the self-policing? Is it the gendered double standards? Or is it the ostracization? I struggle with that word. Ostracization and public shaming. Which one is most harmful? Or is it just all of them? What do you think when we're talking about shame in the context of community? Because if you pay very, very close attention to the conversation today, most of our shame has been experienced in the context of some community, whether it's the community we grew up in with family and friends, or it's our religious communities, all of them. Somebody just went hard on it. It's like all of them. Number 3, they're bouncing, they're oscillating. It's a little tug of war. Ooh, all of them is winning. All of them is winning. It's like people get mad when you choose one of them. How dare you? It's all of them. Nope, I'm voting now. If you have not gotten your vote in, this is a great time to get it in. Get that vote in there. Man, this is good. Dang. It's all. It is all. Like, y'all are fighting for number 4. Y'all are like, and that's, to me, that's a very interesting social phenomenon. Like, that feels like an aggressive number 4. That feels like an aggressive all of them. But I think that's a good sign from society. I think that's a good sign of society, is that people are like, nah, it's all of them. Because I think that helps us remember that we're not fighting against one thing. When we're trying to build community, we're having to deal with people's internalized stigma and their own self-policing. We're having to help find ways to give them the tools to navigate that. I think as we do more of our small groups, like right now we have our trigger warnings that happens, I think it's every third Saturday of the month. If I'm wrong, y'all correct me in the chat. But we have our trigger warnings. That group meets every third Saturday of the month. We're having our small talks that are getting ready to start happening. We're having connection circles. These are places that help, that people can get the tools to start dealing with their internalized stigma and that self-policing. As a community, we have an opportunity to defy gendered double standards, you know? And as a community, we have the opportunity to like, I don't want to say outlaw, but like outlaw public shaming. Like that just shouldn't be, that should not be a tool in our archive. There are plenty of people who want to do business that way. For us, that's just not, it's definitely not who I am. And I mean, that's beyond anything. I'm just not, I don't feel that superior over other people. But the psychological weight of sexual shame often leads to anxiety, isolation, and poor mental health. However, there's a growing movement called sexual shame and purity culture, nuance needed, that highlights the importance of deconstructing these rigid boundaries, binaries. Engaging in community healing through chosen families and open, shame-free communities helps individuals reclaim their autonomy and rebuild a healthy sense of belonging. I'd absolutely love to see a small group forming around breaking the cycles of shame or something to that effect. And I mean, like, hell, there's so many small groups in that. We can be dealing with sexual shame. There are people still out here who are dealing with financial shame, y'all. Shame is a big category. There are people out here dealing with relational shame, whether it's shame for the way they parented people or even shame for the way that they parented. I would love to see more small groups dedicated to conversations like that. And just side note, everything we do as a community, whether you're talking about our clubs, our teams, our groups, our activities, our events, everything we do as a community is really about rebuilding the muscles of peer-to-peer support. One of my biggest theses in life is that most of what you're looking for out of life, you can find in the relationships that you're not building. Damn, those were bars. So shame is one of the cheapest tools a culture can use to control people, because once shame gets inside you, the system does not have to keep policing you. You start policing yourself. And so the goal is not to become shameless in the sense that nothing matters. The goal is to become shame resistant enough to tell the truth, take responsibility, respect boundaries, and stop letting inherited fear define your humanity. And that is all I have for today's session. Now we get to turn this over to Ashley and Jude for our next steps and our closing. And I'm excited because we're doing this live and we ain't did that in a while. So let's we've never done this before. This is our first time doing this. So y'all show some love for Ashley and Jude to close out our program for today.
Okay, definitely trying this again, but thank you all for joining us for today's Sunday session. I have to admit, today's whole conversation was huge. I mean, we touched on so many different things, purity culture, gender roles, cultural expectations, sincerely. So if you guys had anything that stuck out with you guys today, just make sure to keep this conversation going. What did you think?
I thought that was absolutely a fantastic session. I really loved the board where everybody was sharing, just really just showing each other, like showing each other who we are. Like we're just, I love that that this is a space where we can just get together and be people and not have to worry about putting up this performance, hiding all of everything that we might be perceived as a flaw, right? We can just be human.
I couldn't agree more. And I feel like one thing that came up a couple of different times, one, what Durante touched on about shame being such a huge topic and expanding far past just this NSFW topic, I think in itself was huge, especially how toxic shame can often manifest as like pity from other people. So today's conversation had a lot in it. If you have any comments, anything that stuck out with you, what is it, Jude?
Did you have a light bulb moment?
Exactly.
Like, is there anything that made you go, oh yeah, that's a thing I live with? So we have, you can continue the comments either in the comments of this replay, which would be great for the algorithm, or you could come over to Bridge City. We have the Commons, which is a nice just general chat room where people can post anything regardless of relevance. But we really want to know, like, we had such a great conversation today, so if you wanted to keep that going, we do have places to do that.
And you know what, actually on that note, one thing Durante had hit on today's stream was writing down 5 or things you like and all the things you like and all the things you dislike. I really love that because that is
getting homework now.
I know, literally. Okay, you guys, there's homework now.
There's homework now.
If it's such a great thing to do because it really starts establishing like a big topic that came up was boundaries, and it really starts establishing what is your foundation, what are the things you inherently gravitate to and things that you repel from.
I mean, and a lot of people in the community already know this, but I was actually raised under a system of purity culture. Not one of the most intense in the world, but I did grow up like not really understanding that boundaries were a thing I was allowed to create. There was kind of like the preset boxes that you were allowed to be in. Right. And it was just like, no, you must just say no to anything outside these boxes. But the idea of developing and establishing and communicating and enforcing the things that I wanted to happen to me was just not even on my radar as a thing that existed.
And and I feel like we saw that a lot in the chat today, that when that question came up, it was really boundaries it was the hardest. What did he say about setting us free? It's not necessarily what we feel the most shame about, but boundaries keep us not free, essentially. So if you haven't, it's a great opportunity to write out your likes and dislikes and actually start asking yourself what those mean to you. Why do you like these things? Why do you not like these things? And with that in mind, if you were thinking, hey, I love this conversation, I do want to keep it going, but I'm not a member yet. So now is a perfect time to actually consider joining Bridge City. We're not a gatekeeping community here. As you've seen, we're willing to have the tough conversations. We're willing to actually go there and explore, be vulnerable with each other, be authentic, and be genuine. So you belong here. If you've been thinking about joining Bridge City, now is the time. If you're looking any part of this conversation, help you find language to help you address, especially the way you may feel about shame. Additionally, if you're looking for a post-religious community, Bridge City is the one for you. And with shame specifically, it's so hard sometimes to take it in honestly and reflect on it honestly. Sometimes having these conversations with other members in private and safe spaces is the way to start connecting better. Oh, and our mission, so you can connect better, live better, build better. So please.
Well, yeah, and if you wanted to learn more about what our mission is, what our values are, again, we have a whole setup just for that. When you join Bridge City, you'll be directed to the new member onboarding course. And it's just like an orientation. It doesn't take very long, 5-10 minutes maybe. And it walks you through how to navigate the global campus, how to find all of our cool stuff like the clubs, where to suggest movies for movie night, all of that good stuff. And it takes you through just an overview of what our values are, what are the concepts, the ideas that we operate under. And that's one of the big ones, is to connect better, build better, and live better.
100%. And I also too, like, as you guys can see, this is a new format for us. I want to thank Bob and Mark for opening up our stream today. Zernial always behind the scenes, handling things. There's a lot of different ways to participate and give to Bridge City. And in order to give support, we need support. So if you have been thinking about how to support Bridge City, at this point, we'd like to invite all of you guys to share generosity, support the mission, support these types of conversations. These are important moments where we're able to kind of review and retrospect and reflect, that's the word I want, on how we feel about these big topics. So if you're able to give and support financially, we would appreciate it. And again, it's about supporting the mission and creating a community that's not only accessible, but sustainable and scalable. So
absolutely.
Please.
Well, yeah, it's absolutely the case that we want to expand. We want to help support building local communities. Like, I've got some friends and family I'm talking to, and I'm hoping that to maybe establish a local chapter here, and that would be so much easier to do with the support of the broader community.
Yeah, and so things like watch parties, local meetups, community events, real world gatherings, these are all things that take support to do so. So
and
again,
it helps you move from isolation into association.
Yes, exactly. This is what connection and action looks like. So as you guys know, we don't collect tithes. We're not here to shame you into anything, but we are always asking for your support if you are able to. And if you're not, there's a million other ways to show up, whether you want to be here hosting like me and Jude. And you know what, Jude, it occurs to me, not everyone here may know exactly who we are. And we just, again, still getting used to this format, glazed over introduction. So,
right.
It's like, we've been doing this a couple of times now. So if you don't know, my name is Ashley. I'm the head of community at Bridge City. And Jude here.
I am the head of the music club.
Yes.
There we go. We got our name tag.
Oh, okay. See, we'll get this.
And it's great because I've actually only been with Bridge City for a short while, since I think I joined in December. And then I just kind of lurked around the music club for the first couple of months until I put my hand up and offered to run a workshop. And that just kind of put me on track where things needed to be done. I wanted to do them. It worked out. So...
You know, I want to touch on something that you just brought up, because a lot of people, when they're thinking about joining Bridge City, they're thinking it feels daunting. It is to join a new community, but sometimes easing into it and spending some time lurking, like we have space for that. We
all get it.
Yeah, like
we
really,
all get it.
We're all there for that. So, just saying again, if you guys can support financially, great. We definitely always looking to help support our community and move into those real world functions, but also showing up for the mission. That's what matters.
Yeah, because this is a community of support. We're a community of people just being people together and celebrating the fact that we're human and we have a little bit of time to enjoy life on this earth.
Yeah, exactly. So if anything in today's conversation touched you, let's keep the conversation going. Bridge is only, right? Like, a bridge is only as effective as the places it reaches. I know you guys have heard that a couple times over.
Yeah, that is, again, one of our other values, which you would find in the new member onboarding course.
You know, that's what we need to do. We need to sit down and just have every member write out what Bridge City's values are to them, and just create a huge list for this.
Yes.
So
all volunteer, Terry.
I'm down.
Yeah, sorry.
No, well, we're so good. So all I was going to say is, for those who may need to catch the replay, again, if you're looking for a post-religious community, trying to understand what intimacy looks like beyond shame, or trying to build relationships without fear, secrecy, or control, Bridge City is the place for you. These Sunday sessions, especially with this series, are not just another sermon. As you can see, we're obviously getting involved. These poll questions, these chat questions. Yeah. It's a place for an honest and safe place for people to think these positions out. And we appreciate you guys joining us here with that. Now,
so share the replay. If you can think of anybody else who really would connect with this kind of conversation, or that would get anything out of it, share the replay and just send them a link. That we've got wonderfully human live intros and outros.
Yeah, seriously. As you can see,
flawed.
Honestly, they're doing great. I'm really proud of us, Jude. Honestly, truly. And thank you for the love in the chat.
Thank you again for Mark. Oh, right. I haven't even been paying attention to the chat.
No, yeah, I just saw it right now. So thank you guys all. And again, thank you all
Oh
of
wow,
our.
you're really going off.
I'm making this happen. Thank you for all of our guests joining us today. I know that the NSFW series is not an easy series to work through. That sex and sexuality deserve more than silence and shame. And it's important that you guys showed up and had this conversation.
Yeah, and again, like share this with anybody you think might benefit or might gain anything from it. And you can carry something forward. If there's any part of this that you could carry forward into your own life, whether it's something to think about, something to question, something to handle with more care, that's fantastic. That is what we're here for. We're here to help people come to their own conclusions about their lives. We're not here to tell you what you need to think, because we don't know what you need to think. We're just trying to help you, give you the tools you need to figure that out.
We are also here to drop Game of Thrones references. Did you see how hard Durante went with that original Game of Thrones?
And with the full clip and everything.
I was just like, shame, like, let's go. This is like classic scene here. There's exactly shame. Perfect. Like, truly, I just want to again thank everyone here who showed up for being present, and of course invite you back next week. We'll be having a panel discussion with our panel guests. It's going to be so exciting. It's how we're going to close off our series for the NSFW. This is our last big topic of it.
You're going to see some familiar faces from Bridge City.
I'm very much looking forward to it. Now for our members.
Yes, for our members. Again, don't let the conversation end here. We have the Commons, which is a great general chat place. We have also a deconstruction club for people who are coming out of religion and looking for other people who have been through a similar process. We have a club where that is a place we have specific for those conversations, and it's had a lot of really good conversations on there already. We also.
Member lounge, like a lot of what we do is talk out these big concepts and big ideas.
We also have the resource board, where again, like if you're in need of other supports, we have lots of great supports. The Secular Therapy Project, Recovering from Religion, a lot of great services out there for people who are deconstructing or just whether deconstructing not even necessarily religion or just harmful beliefs like internalized shame.
Okay, you know what? I'm so sorry, Jude. I actually have this in my notes, and not that I want to keep you all here longer, but I wanted to talk about the deconstruction of shame outside of just the religious framework, because that was something that came up in today's conversation. Was about the way sexualized media is pushed on us so early and so quick. Like something Durante said in today's session about feeling like he would be ridiculed for his body. Like I felt like that was a place I lived. I maybe didn't have as much religious shame, but like just cultural and societal pressures and shame of how to look as a woman. Again, huge conversation.
Religion absolutely does not have a monopoly on shame. It's just a high-profile wielder of it.
100%. So again, I just want to, on top of thanking everyone here, I just want to help everyone remember Bridge City's values with this. Again, being forward thinking and how we address these topics, how we address these conversations, being people centric. That means not injecting shame into the way we take in a new person, take in a new relationship or a new connection, being willing to be open and honest with these conversations and experience someone else's truth in that. And then of course, life affirming. That may not mean that we justify or approve of everything, but we're willing to express and acknowledge someone else's autonomy and ideally steer clear of shame in all of this.
Yeah. And ultimately what we want, we want us all to be forward thinking enough to question our inherited shame. We want to be people centric enough to handle vulnerable conversations with care and sensitivity. And we want to be life affirming enough that we can build new relationships and futures where people are honest, people are free. We don't try to bully or shame or guilt people into participating. Everything is done on a volunteer basis, right? You opt in to participation here. We don't pressure you.
And it's just showing up as you are, essentially. That's the only ask here. So again, thank you everyone. And until next time, keep rising, and be the bridge.
Tell them.
What's my name, fool? I don't need you to justify my love, to justify my skin, to justify or mystify this human that I'm in. I don't need you to sanctify my purity or defend my security. I am invested in my surety. What's my name? I came already. Can you see me now? Can you see me? Can you feel me now? Can you feel me? Can you hear me now? Can you see me now? What's my I'm not your vessel for your shame game. I no longer hold the blame, yeah. What's my name? I'm not your vessel for your same game. I no longer hold the blame. What's my name? I'm not a victim of yours. I'm not a target of yours. I'm not a vessel for your shame. What's my name?